It is a story that sounds like the plot of a Hollywood thriller. Imagine this. A group of robbers break into a farm. What do they discover? $4 million in cash hidden in the furniture. But here's the plot twist. This money was actually black money that was stashed there. So what does the owner of the farm do? He recovers some of the loot and instead pays the robbers to keep quiet. And now let me tell you the bigger plot twist. The owner of this farm is South Africa's president, Cyril Ramaphosa.
The 2020 Phala Phala robbery or Cyril Ramaphosa farm burglary or farm gate scandal was a burglary of South African President Cyril Ramaphosa's private Phala Phala game farm near Phala Phala, Limpopo, South Africa. The incident occurred on 9 February 2020 in which an undetermined amount of cash was stolen. Arthur Fraser, an ally of former President Jacob Zuma, alleged that around $4 million US, 60 million rands of undeclared foreign currency had been stolen. However, subsequent reports indicated that the amount stolen was $580,000. Ramaphosa denied any wrongdoing and sought judicial review of a report by the panel appointed by the South African Parliament released in 2020 that accused him of serious misconduct. Opposition parties and MPs have slammed investigations into the source of the cash and have accused the South African Reserve Bank of providing a claptrap report and systematic cover-up. The Democratic Alliance intended to pursue the courts to further investigate the matter. On 1 June 2022, the former head of state security and close ally of former President Jacob Zuma, Arthur Fraser, lodged a criminal complaint against Cyril Ramaphosa for defeating the ends of justice by committing breaches of the Prevention of Organized Crime Act and the Prevention of Corrupt Activities Act of 2004. Fraser's complaint stated that a total of $4 million US, equivalent to 62 million rands, stashed inside a couch at Ramaphosa's home at the Phala Phala game farm in Waterberg, Limpopo, was stolen on or about 9 February 2020. It went on to state that the president did not report the crime and that the existence of such a large amount of foreign currency was not declared to the Reserve Bank despite regulations. Fraser's complaint also alleged that suspects supposedly involved in the theft were kidnapped and interrogated at the farm and were paid off not to tell anyone of the incident. The Namibian authorities identified suspects involved in the theft before it became public, but allegedly let them go following requests from South African state security sources. Sources close to the president stated whilst the theft did take place at the farm, the amount of money involved was less than Fraser had claimed, and the money was all legally obtained following the sale of Ankole cattle. Ramaphosa stated he did not report the crime as he did not want to cause alarm within the farming community, and instead, the Presidential Security Detail investigated the theft. Guys, please hit the like button. It helps me reach more people. Thank you. Don't forget to smash that like button. Now let's continue.
Take a look at the video on your screen. The video was released by the Economic Freedom Fighters. This is an opposition party in South Africa. They alleged that this is the CCTV footage of the robbery. Criminals broke into Ramaphosa's Phala Phala wildlife farm. They discovered large sums of money. The money was hidden in various pieces of furniture. The president is said to have been abroad at the time. After returning, he asked his head of security to probe the robbery.
From the allegation and charges laid by Arthur Fraser, the following events allegedly took place. A domestic worker employed at the Phala Phala game farm had allegedly discovered foreign currency hidden in furniture. She lived off the farm in the village of Syferskyle. Many Namibians lived there, and their origin were from persons who fought on the side of the South African Defence Force during the border war and settled in South Africa in 1989. She discussed the find with some neighbors, and they put her in touch with some Namibians who could help her and were based in Cape Town. The burglary occurred on the night of 9 February 2020 around 10 p.m. Fraser claimed the whole event was recorded on CCTV. The burglars initially broke into the wrong room and were then allegedly assisted by the domestic worker to the right room. After the burglary, they then fled to Cape Town. When the burglary was discovered, the head of the Presidential Protection Unit, Major General Wally Rudy, allegedly became involved, instructed to investigate by Cyril Ramaphosa. Suspects were eventually traced to Cape Town after the domestic worker was interrogated and her cell phone examined for messages with the burglars. In Cape Town, the burglars laundered the foreign currency into rands at a Chinese money exchange. Fraser claims the suspects were interrogated, any money left over returned, and the burglars paid off with 150,000 rands. At least one was allegedly interrogated while in Namibia by Rudy. This occurred due to the alleged intervention of Ramaphosa with Namibian president. The domestic worker was allegedly fired, then reinstated and paid off with $150,000.
Explosive details of how some of the US dollars that were stolen from President Cyril Ramaphosa's Phala Phala farm were spent were at the center of Thursday's court hearing.
I have evidence under oath where he paid a transporter the day after the theft at Phala Phala. The transporter transported him from Phala Phala to his residence in Rustenburg and then to a car dealer in Kempton Park and paid him $30,000 in cash. At the dealership in Kempton Park, he then purchased vehicles utilizing US dollars, which rendered the transporter not necessary for him anymore, and then the transporter left.
The following alleged suspects were identified from the charges laid by Arthur Fraser with the police. The suspects that have been interviewed by journalists have claimed they are innocent. Emanuela David allegedly illegally entered Namibia in June 2020 with the bribery of Namibian government officials. He was arrested 2 days later in Windhoek, charged with entering Namibia illegally and breaking the country's COVID-19 lockdown rules. He spent 4 months in jail before appearing in court on 13 November 2020. He then pleaded guilty to illegally entering the country and failing to declare goods he had brought into Namibia. He was sentenced to a year in jail for the former and 24 months for the latter crime and had to forfeit the cash, watches, and jewelry. He served only 48 hours and was deported to South Africa. Ebenas Shambwako, Namibian citizen, arrested in October 2020 in possession of unlicensed firearms. The firearms had been used in robberies. He was caught at a roadblock outside Cape Town with 12 unlicensed firearms, serial numbers erased, believed to be Namibian police weapons, while in a car belonging to Eki Shikongo. Eki Shikongo, he admitted to journalists that he smuggled gold, guns, and dollars between Namibia, Angola, and South Africa. He said he knows the suspects named, except Afrikaner, claimed Petrus Muhukeni is his brother. He also said he knows Emanuela David from Cape Town. Shikongo lived in the same house in Cape Town with Ebenas Shambwako, denies knowing anything about the Phala Phala robbery. Petrus Muhukeni, he denied he was involved in the robbery, claimed no police had spoken to him about the event. He is now in Namibia, recovering from a broken neck from a house fall. He was a Uber and Bolt driver in Cape Town. Petrus Afrikaner, no known information. Eki Shikongo claimed he doesn't know him. Guys, please hit the like button. It helps me reach more people. Thank you. Don't forget to smash that like button. Now let's continue. On 1 June, former Director General of the State Security Agency and the Department of Correctional Services, Commissioner Arthur Fraser, and his lawyer attended the Rosebank police station and laid a charge of money laundering, defeating the ends of justice, and kidnapping against President Cyril Ramaphosa. He presented evidence to support his allegations that included names, photographs, video footage of the robbery, and bank accounts. He alleged that $4 million in foreign currency was stolen from a concealed location at the President's Game Park at Phala Phala on 9 February 2022. He alleged the burglars were then identified, kidnapped, interrogated, and then bribed to hide the implications of the undeclared foreign currency from the South African Police Service and South African Revenue Service. The allegation was laid under Section 34 of the Prevention and Combating Corrupt Activities Act, which states that it is an offense not to report alleged crimes related to the act. A spokesperson for the presidency, Vincent Magwenya, confirmed the burglary on 2 June 2022, which occurred at the president's farm in 2020, that around $4 million was stolen and that Ramaphosa denied any criminal conduct. The spokesman questioned the timing of Fraser's disclosure. 2 years later, Magwenya confirmed that the theft was reported to the head of the Presidential Protection Unit of the South African Police. By 3 June 2022, Democratic Alliance leader John Steenhuisen said that his party would be writing to the South African Revenue Service calling for the organization to investigate whether the money had been declared and tax paid. They would also write to South African Reserve Bank asking them to investigate whether the foreign exchange held by Ramaphosa was the result of an illicit flow of funds and whether money laundering was involved. On Sunday, 5 June 2022, President Ramaphosa, at his closing address of the ANC Limpopo Provincial Conference, claimed there was a political agenda around the disclosure that he had hidden the theft of money from his game park and that the amount of money was far less than had been reported. He claimed the money came from selling game animals and he had not stolen money, nor was it a case of money laundering. Monday, 6 June 2022, saw ANC National Committee member Tony Yengeni, a Jacob Zuma supporter, have the National Working Committee meeting agenda modified to include a discussion about the brewing scandal. He attempted to force the committee to make Ramaphosa step down while he was investigated by the ANC's Integrity Committee. He also attempted to get the president to face Parliament's Ethics Committee. The attempt failed to unseat the president, and the NWC accepted a report from Ramaphosa and would wait for the investigation to take its course before making a decision. On 7 June, the Economic Freedom Fighters released a video supposedly of the robbery at Cyril Ramaphosa's Phala Phala game farm. EFF leader Julius Malema called for the president to step aside while the police investigate. Malema also claimed the police were being pressured to change dates on official documents to back the president's claims that the Presidential Protection Unit had opened a case. After the footage was released, the EFF laid allegations of money laundering, with Ramaphosa denying the allegations.
Okay. You nearly resigned because of the scandal, Mr. President. What changed your mind?
Did I really?
I spoke to two of your best friends on the show who said they managed to convince you.
And also, never mind that, your Secretary General, Fikile Mbalula, again, in public said they stopped you from resigning. Made you change your mind?
Though, in December?
No, did I change my mind?
It was October.
So you never wanted to resign in December?
No, I don't know anything about that.
So Fikile Mbalula was lying?
I can never say Fikile Mbalula was lying. You should ask him.
So your two best friends who said they've been on the call with you throughout.
Best friends?
Yes.
I wonder who they are.
Franz Baleni.
Yeah.
James Motlati.
They
Are those
were
not your friends?
Were they on the show?
On this show, yeah.
Well, I should go and ask them.
Okay.
Why can't you admit that you actually wanted to quit on us, Mr. President? Why is it so hard to say,
No.
I did have a moment where that independent panel report made it difficult for you to stick around, and you felt that actually it's easier to go, and there are people who came out saying they stopped you.
You would like a headline.
No, I don't like a headline. I'd like some honesty.
No.
I'd like you to take us into your confidence.
No, I do take people into my confidence. That is not the case.
Public Protector Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane announced on 8 June 2022 that she would be investigating Ramaphosa for criminal activities after receiving complaint from African Transformation Movement MP and President Vuyo Zungula concerning allegations of bribery, concealing crimes and kidnapping at the president's farm. The following day, 9 June 2022, Public Protector was suspended by President Cyril Ramaphosa. Her suspension came after weeks earlier, the president had requested her to report back to him as to why he shouldn't suspend her. This she had done on 27 May 2022. Her suspension would in no way hinder the Deputy Public Protector from investigating the president. President Ramaphosa stated on 10 June 2022 that he would step aside if he was charged over the events that followed after money was stolen from his game park by burglars. He also announced that he had volunteered to appear before the ANC Integrity Commission. On 13 June 2022, the Hawks confirmed that a group of investigators had been appointed to investigate. Vuyo Zungula tabled an official motion on 14 June 2022 that Parliament investigate President Cyril Ramaphosa by forming a Section 89 committee in inquiry over allegations the president had violated Section 89 of the South African Constitution. On 15 June 2022, the Hawks investigators met Arthur Fraser and discussed these allegations, provided additional information, and received an update on the case's progress. Namibian Police Inspector General Sebastian Deintunga alleged that after the arrest of Emanuela David on 12 June 2020, Namibian police met South African police on 19 June 2020 to discuss the arrest and the proceeds that have been obtained from the crimes in South Africa. He also refuted any allegations of torture alleged by Fraser in his affidavit. Police Minister Begicele denied any knowledge of the meeting. The South African National Defence Force had also denied allegations that Emanuela David had been a member of its organization, an allegation also made by Namibian police. Home Affairs also refused to confirm David's citizenship. DA leader Johnston Hazen said on 21 June that the DA had written to the Federal Bureau of Investigation to request that they investigate allegations of possible money laundering. They wanted the source of the funds investigated, whether it was brought into the country legitimately. The DA also wrote to the South African Revenue Service and the Financial Intelligence Center requesting they investigate potential crimes. The Sunday Independent newspaper alleged in late June 2022 that 16 members of a special task force were deployed to investigate the money theft and budgeted out of a secret crime intelligence account. 3 months after the theft, it was alleged the unit was reduced to 8 after General Sam Setlabaneng complained that the money was being spent on an operation he knew nothing about. Eventually, the task force was disbanded. Deputy Public Protector Advocate Koleka Gcaleka requested 31 answers to the questions she had sent to President Cyril Ramaphosa. The deadline was set as 22 June 2022, but it did not meet the deadline, and Gcaleka gave him an extension. This extension had not been disclosed publicly. She would later defend the decision, saying it was based on the amount of information required, and all extensions were based on merit and maintained their independence and impartiality. In July, Speaker of the National Assembly, Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula, declined to proceed with Democratic Alliance request for Parliament to set up an ad hoc committee, and the same with the ATM's party's request for an impeachment of the president. On 18 July 2022, President Cyril Ramaphosa missed the deadline to answer 31 questions put to him by the Office of the Public Protector after it had been extended on 22 June, and a further request for an extension was asked for and denied. But on 23 July, President Cyril Ramaphosa responded to the Office of the Public Protector's 31 questions. In July, despite many requests from opposition parties, the Department of Home Affairs refused to confirm Emanuela David's nationality on the grounds of privacy laws, which required a letter to consent to its release. On 25 July, the Sunday Independent published Presidential Protection Service General Wally Rudi's alleged response to questions put to him by the Public Protector. He had allegedly confirmed that he had driven to Namibia with President Ramaphosa's advisor, Bejane Chauke. They met Namibian police and were flown to Windhoek by helicopter arranged by the Namibian president. This was denied by Namibian president spokesperson. Other allegations made by the newspaper were that the Namibians had become involved after the alleged robbers had been arrested, interrogated, paid off, and released in South Africa at the end of March 2022. At least 2 of the robbers had then entered Namibia, 1 illegally. The former, Ekishi Kongo, was arrested prior to the Namibian meeting when Namibian police were investigating money transfers, and Emanuela David was arrested in June 2020 after crossing illegally, trying bribery, and in possession of luxury goods and cash. It was also alleged in Rudi's statement to the Public Protector that he blamed the late Deputy Commissioner Sandile Mfazi for not implementing a proper investigation of the robbery. 4 police generals called Rudi a shameless liar and that he had never reported the robbery, nor that the former National Police Commissioner authorized Rudi's trip to Namibia. At the end of July, Police Commissioner Fani Masemula stated in an affidavit that no case of theft was ever reported by President Cyril Ramaphosa. He also stated that the theft took place on 10 February 2020 and was only reported on 2 March 2020 to the then head of Protection Services, Major General Wally Rudi. Guys, please hit the like button. It helps me reach more people. Thank you. Don't forget to smash that like button. Now let's continue. The Independent Police Investigative Directorate announced on 2 August it would investigate the conduct of the police officers involved in the Phala Phala robbery in regard to police regulations, while the Hawks would continue to investigate possible criminal police conduct. ATM President Vuyo Zungula had written to the Directorate in late June asking them to investigate the matter, and again in July. On 5 August, Speaker Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula notified the African Transformation Movement that its motion for an independent panel to investigate allegations that could lead to the possible impeachment of the president complied with the Constitution, rules, and established practices, and an independent panel would be appointed. In late August 2022, Hawks Head General Godfrey Lebeya, in a media briefing on other matters, said that the Phala Phala investigation was still ongoing and that 41 statements had been obtained so far. On 14 September 2022, National Assembly Speaker Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula appointed a 3-person panel consisting of former Chief Justice Sandile Ngcobo, Judge Thokozile Masepa, and Professor Richard Colland to investigate if there was evidence of criminal activity at Phala Phala farm that could result in the parliamentary impeachment of President Cyril Ramaphosa. The panel was to take submissions from MPs and was given 30 days to report back to the Speaker. Professor Richard Colland's independence was immediately called into question by opposition MPs, stating he had made statements of support for the president in the past. On Tuesday 27 September, Speaker Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula announced Advocate Mahlape Sello would replace Professor Colland after having considered written submissions and legal opinions regarding the appointment of Colland. Known as the Section 89 panel, it started hearing submissions on 19 October 2022. President Cyril Ramaphosa had until Sunday 6 November 2022 to respond to the Section 89 panel about allegations made to the panel by MPs. On 7 November, former Chief Justice Sandile Ngcobo, chairman of the Section 89 panel, confirmed that President Ramaphosa had replied to the MP's allegation that have been presented to the panel. The report was due on 17 November 2022. The ANC National Executive Committee met mid-November to discuss reports prior to its December conference when a new president would be chosen. It was said the NEC would be presented with the ANC's Integrity Committee statement about the Phala Phala matter. Leaked information from the meeting of the NEC claimed President Cyril Ramaphosa got to present his version of the incident and was said to have revealed that only $480,000, about 8.2 million rands, was stolen instead of the $4 million, was tax compliant, and that he had identified to the authorities the names of those who had bought the cattle. It was said that some members called for him to step down at the meeting and others defended him. ANC Treasurer General Paul Mashatile claimed after the NEC meeting that Integrity Committee had submitted a report but was still working on the report related to Phala Phala. The ANC's Integrity Commission put out a statement in mid-November denying reports of claims in the media of the circulation of a leaked progress update on Phala Phala robbery. It claimed no such report had been released. Vuyo Zungula threatened judges in the panel that was probing President Cyril Ramaphosa with impeachment if they tried to protect the president. Legal expert advocate Thule Zwilendawo said ATM would not be able to impeach the panel or take the report under judicial review.
Order, honorable members, we have the results. Yes, those who have voted yes, 148. And those who have voted no, 214. Abstained, hold on, honorable members. Abstention 2. And therefore, the Section 89(1) inquiry will therefore not be proceeded with. I thank you, honorable members. That concludes the business of the day, and the House is adjourned.
As Parliament was due to go into recess on December 1st, this concerned opposition MPs as they feared the panel's report would only be tabled before Parliament in February 2023. The National Assembly Programming Committee meeting said on 17 November that a sitting would be arranged for December 6 for the Section 89 report to be considered and distributed to MPs prior to the sitting. Speaker of Parliament received the Phala Phala report from former Chief Justice Sandile Ngcobo, Chairman of the Section 89 panel, on 30 November 2022. The report from the Section 89 panel was released to the public on the evening of 30 November 2022 and concluded the following statement after receiving submissions from the EFF, UDM, and ATM and President Cyril Ramaphosa that, in light of all the information placed before the panel, we conclude that this information discloses that the President may have committed a serious violation of Sections 96(2)(a), a serious violations of Section 34(1) of PRECA, a serious misconduct in the President violated Section 96(2)(b) by acting in a way that is inconsistent with his office. A serious misconduct in that the President violated Section 96(2)(b) by exposing himself to a situation involving a conflict between his official responsibilities and his private business of the Constitution. Local media reported that Ramaphosa wished to resign in the wake of the report. However, Ramaphosa revised his position pending a meeting of the NC's National Executive Committee. The uncertainty around Ramaphosa's position caused South Africa's currency and bond market to fall. The South African Parliament met on 13 December 2022 to debate the Section 89 panel's report and vote on impeachment proceedings. A vote was taken after the debate to impeach the President, which failed to pass after the ANC members voted against it, while the opposition parties and a handful of ANC members voted for it. 214 members voted against setting up an impeachment committee, 148 voted in favor. President Cyril Ramaphosa applied to the Constitutional Court to have the Section 89 panel's report declared unlawful and invalid. Hazim Mustafa, a Sudanese businessman, popped out of nowhere and corroborated Ramaphosa's version of events in December 2022 interviews with The Guardian and Sky News, stating that he was unaware that Ramaphosa owned the farm and that he had paid $580,000 cash to Ramaphosa's staff for a rare cattle breed to add to his collection of exotic animals. Ramaphosa was re-elected for another 5-year term as ANC president at the party's December 2022 elective conference.